The assassination of Severus Alexander in 235 CE plunged the Roman Empire into a nearly 50-year crisis marked by civil wars, barbarian invasions, plague, economic collapse, and over 20 emperors, many of whom ruled for mere months before being overthrown or killed. This period, known as the Crisis of the 3rd Century, tested the very survival of Rome and exposed the fragility of the imperial office. As power shifted rapidly between emperors proclaimed by armies rather than inherited by right, the legitimacy of the position weakened. The Senate, meanwhile, became little more than a ceremonial body, with real power concentrated in the hands of military commanders. The first emperor during this crisis was Maximinus Thrax, a former soldier of humble origin who rose through the ranks. He ruled from 235 to 238 CE, but never gained the Senate's support. His harsh tax policies and military focus alienated Rome's elite. In 238 CE, a revolt began in Africa, and the Senate declared Gordian I and Gordian II as emperors. Unfortunately, Gordian II was quickly killed in battle, and his father committed suicide. The Senate then appointed Pepinus and Balbinus as joint emperors, but both were murdered by the Praetorian Guard. Amidst the chaos, Gordian III, a teenage relative of the original Gordians, was proclaimed emperor with broad support. Though young, Gordian III ruled until 244 CE under the guidance of capable advisors, but was ultimately killed or overthrown during a military campaign in the east. The next emperor, Philip the Arab, briefly stabilized the empire. He ruled from 244 to 249 CE and is known for celebrating the 1000th anniversary of the founding of Rome in 248. However, his reign ended when he was defeated by his own general Decius, who became emperor, but soon perished in battle against the Goths in 251 CE. What followed was a revolving door of emperors: Trebonianus Gallus, Aemilian, Valerian, and Gallienus. Valerian was the only Roman emperor to be captured alive by a foreign power. He was taken prisoner by the Persian king Shapur I and reportedly died in captivity in humiliating conditions. Valerian's son, Gallienus, ruled for 15 turbulent years and showed signs of reform and resilience. He fought off invasions, dealt with usurpers, and tried to reorganize the army. However, his reign also saw the rise of breakaway empires, including the Gallic Empire in the west and the Palmyrene Empire in the east, led by the powerful Queen Zenobia. Rome was in danger of permanent fragmentation. Following Gallienus, Claudius II Gothicus emerged as a capable leader. He ruled briefly from 268 to 270 CE and achieved a major victory against the Goths at the Battle of Naissus, earning him the name Gothicus. Unfortunately, he died of plague. His successor, Aurelian, reigned from 270 to 275 CE and deserves great credit for reuniting the empire. Aurelian defeated both the Gallic and Palmyrene empires, restored military discipline, and built the Aurelian walls around Rome for defense. His reign brought a sense of cohesion back to the empire, but he was assassinated by his own officers. The next several emperors, Tacitus, Probus, and Carus, continued efforts to stabilize the empire, but often met untimely deaths. Amidst this instability, it became clear that Rome could not survive under the old system. The imperial succession, based on military loyalty, was too volatile. By the time Diocletian rose to power in 284 CE, Rome was desperate for a systemic overhaul. Diocletian, a former soldier of low birth, proved to be a visionary reformer. His reign from 284 to 305 CE marked a turning point in Roman governance. Realizing that the empire was too vast for one man to control, he introduced the Tetrarchy in 293 CE, a rule of 4. Under this system, the empire was divided into two halves, east and west. Diocletian ruled the east as Augustus with Galerius as his Caesar, while Maximian ruled the west with Constantius Chlorus as his Caesar. This system allowed for more effective administration, rapid military response, and clear lines of succession. Diocletian also instituted economic reforms, including the Edict on Maximum Prices, which attempted to curb inflation but proved difficult to enforce. He reorganized the provincial structure, separating civil and military duties to reduce the chance of rebellion. Religiously, Diocletian initiated the most brutal persecution of Christians in Roman history, seeing the new faith as a threat to traditional Roman values and the imperial cult. Thousands of Christians were executed, imprisoned, or tortured during this period, although the movement continued to grow in strength and numbers. After a remarkably organized reign, Diocletian did something no emperor had done before. He voluntarily abdicated in 305 CE and retired to a palace in what is now split Croatia. Maximian followed suit, and the Caesars Galerius and Constantius were elevated to Augusti, with two new Caesars appointed, Maximinus Daia in the east and Severus II in the west. However, the tetrarchy soon collapsed into civil war. When Constantius Chlorus died in 306 CE while campaigning in Britain, his troops declared his son, Constantine, as emperor. This move ignored the tetrarchic succession plan and triggered a series of conflicts known as the Civil Wars of the Tetrarchy. At the same time, Maxentius, son of Maximian, seized power in Rome, and other claimants vied for control. Constantine quickly emerged as the most formidable contender. In 312 CE, Constantine marched toward Rome to confront Maxentius. At the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, Constantine reportedly had a vision of a cross in the sky, accompanied by the words "In hoc signo vinces." In this sign, you will conquer. Inspired, he ordered his soldiers to mark their shields with the Christian symbol. Constantine won a decisive victory, and Maxentius drowned in the Tiber River. This victory made Constantine the undisputed ruler of the Western Empire. Constantine as rise brought about one of the most momentous shifts in Roman history, the legalization and eventual promotion of Christianity. In 313 CE, Constantine and his co-emperor Licinius issued the Edict of Milan, which granted religious tolerance throughout the empire. Christianity, once persecuted, was now protected and soon favored. Constantine himself embraced the faith, though he was not baptized until shortly before his death. He also convened the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, which aimed to unify Christian doctrine and resulted in the Nicene Creed. While Constantine ruled the West, Licinius controlled the East. Their alliance deteriorated, and civil war erupted once again. By 324 CE, Constantine defeated Licinius and became the sole emperor of a reunified Roman Empire. One of his greatest legacies was the founding of a new capital. In 330 CE, he officially dedicated the city of Constantinople, built on the site of the ancient city of Byzantium. The new capital was strategically located between Europe and Asia and designed as a new Rome, complete with forums, palaces, and Christian churches. Constantinople would remain the seat of imperial power in the East for over 1,000 years. Constantine's death in 337 CE marked the end of an era, and he was succeeded by his three sons, Constantine II, Constans, and Constantius II, who divided the empire among themselves. Their rivalry led to more infighting and shifting alliances. Constantine II was killed in 340 during a failed attempt to seize Italy from Constans, who ruled the central and western parts of the empire. Constans, in turn, was assassinated in 350 by the usurper Magnentius, but Constantius II ultimately defeated Magnentius and ruled as sole emperor until 361. Constantius II, like his father, was a committed Christian and continued efforts to suppress paganism. His reign was marked by military campaigns against the Persians and internal dissent. When he died in 361, he was succeeded by his cousin Julian, known to history as Julian the Apostate because of his rejection of Christianity and attempt to restore paganism. Julian was a capable general and philosopher who tried to revive traditional Roman religions, but his reign was cut short when he died during a campaign against Persia in 363. After Julian, the throne passed briefly to Jovian, who signed a humiliating peace with Persia and restored Christianity as the state religion. He died less than a year into his reign. The throne then passed to Valentinian I, who ruled the west, and his brother Valens, who ruled the east. This division, while not official, began to harden the distinction between the Eastern and Western empires. Valentinian I was a strong military leader who spent much of his reign defending the Rhine frontier. He died in 375 after an outburst of rage during negotiations with a barbarian tribe. Valentinian's son, Gratian, succeeded him in the west, while the east saw the rise of Theodosius I, one of the last truly powerful emperors. Theodosius ruled from 379 to 395, and is best remembered for making Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire through the Edict of Thessalonica in 380. He suppressed pagan rituals, closed temples, and dismantled the remnants of the imperial cult. His reign also saw the final division of the Roman Empire into East and West. Upon his death, Theodosius left the Eastern Empire to his son Arcadius and the Western to Honorius, marking a permanent administrative split. This division of the empire would have far-reaching consequences. The Western Roman Empire, plagued by internal decay, weak leadership, and relentless barbarian invasions, would collapse within a century. The Eastern Empire, centered in Constantinople, would endure as the Byzantine Empire and continue for another 1,000 years. Thus, from the chaos of the 3rd century to the consolidation under Diocletian and Constantine, and finally to the formal division under Theodosius, the Roman Empire transformed in character and structure. The emperors of this era faced immense challenges, but also laid the groundwork for the empire's future, both in its Western twilight and its Eastern rebirth. The rise of Christianity, the creation of the Tetrarchy, and the founding of Constantinople marked the emergence of a new Roman identity, one rooted not just in military conquest, but in religious authority and imperial unity.